Chapter 1: A Past We Barely Understand. Human history often feels like a straight line. Primitive tribes, slowly becoming advanced civilizations, eventually leading to the modern technological world we live in today. But the deeper archaeologists dig into the past, the more this simple story begins to fall apart. Across the planet stand massive stone structures that challenge our understanding of ancient capabilities. Gigantic blocks weighing hundreds of tons were transported, shaped, and placed with a level of precision that still confuses modern engineers. Entire cities were constructed in places where survival itself seems nearly impossible. And then, suddenly, many of these civilizations vanished. Their cities collapsed, their libraries burned, their knowledge disappeared. What remained were fragments, myths, scattered texts, and unanswered questions. Take the ancient city of Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey. When archaeologists first uncovered this site in the 1990s, they were stunned. Massive stone pillars, intricately carved with animal symbols, arranged in circular temples. Radiocarbon dating revealed something astonishing. The site was over 11,000 years old. That means it was built thousands of years before Stonehenge, thousands of years before the Egyptian pyramid, and long before historians believed complex civilization even existed. For decades, the accepted narrative was simple. Agriculture came first, then permanent settlements, and only later did humans develop organized religion and monumental architecture. But Göbekli Tepe reversed that timeline. It suggested that ancient humans may have been organizing large construction projects before they even developed farming. And that raises a troubling possibility. What if the story of civilization is far more complicated than we thought? What if knowledge rose, disappeared, and rose again multiple times throughout history? Many ancient cultures themselves seemed to believe exactly that. The Greeks spoke of lost golden ages of humanity. Hindu traditions describe cycles of civilization rising and falling across immense spans of time. Even Plato wrote about a powerful civilization called Atlantis, which he claimed was destroyed in a catastrophe thousands of years before his own time. For centuries, historians dismissed such stories as myths, but with every new discovery buried beneath the earth, the question becomes harder to ignore. How much of humanity's ancient knowledge has already been lost? Chapter 2: The mystery of the megalith builders scattered across the world are monuments so massive that they appear almost impossible for ancient people to have built. These structures are known as megaliths, meaning great stones, and they exist on nearly every continent. In Lebanon, at the ancient Roman site of Baalbek, 3 enormous stones form part of a foundation known as the Trilith. Each block weighs an estimated 800 tons. To put that into perspective, modern construction cranes struggle to lift even a fraction of that weight. Even more astonishing, a nearby quarry contains an unfinished stone block weighing over 1,000 tons, one of the largest stones ever cut by human hands. Yet, somehow, ancient builders managed to move and position stones of nearly that scale. How? Traditional explanations suggest the use of ramps, rollers, and thousands of workers pulling ropes. But many engineers argue that such methods would still struggle with stones of this size. The mystery deepens in places like Peru. At the Incan fortress of Sacsayhuaman, massive stone walls zigzag across a hillside overlooking the city of Cusco. The stones are not only enormous, they are fitted together with extraordinary precision. No mortar, no gaps. Some blocks have dozens of perfectly interlocking angles, forming shapes that resemble giant three-dimensional puzzles. Even today, it is difficult to slide a sheet of paper between the stones. This level of craftsmanship is remarkable, especially considering that the Inca civilization did not use iron tools or the wheel for transportation. Yet their structures have survived earthquakes that destroyed many modern buildings. And the deeper researchers investigate, the more puzzling the techniques appear. Some stones seem to have been shaped with incredible smoothness, as if they had been softened or molded rather than carved. Others display drill holes and cuts that suggest advanced stoneworking methods. Were these techniques simply lost over time? Or did ancient builders possess knowledge that modern historians have yet to fully understand? The mystery becomes even more intriguing when similar construction techniques appear in completely different parts of the world, thousands of miles apart, across civilizations that supposedly had no contact with one another. Massive stones, precise engineering, and methods that remain only partially understood. It raises a fascinating question. Were ancient civilizations far more technologically capable than we give them credit for? Or are we still missing part of the story? Chapter 3: The Ancient Machine That Shouldn't Exist in 1901. Sponge divers exploring a shipwreck off the coast of the Greek island Antikythera discovered something unexpected among the scattered cargo. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a corroded lump of bronze. But when scientists examined the object more closely, they realized it contained dozens of carefully crafted gears. And those gears formed one of the most astonishing discoveries in the history of archaeology. Today, it is known as the Antikythera mechanism. Dating back more than 2,000 years, this device is often described as the world's first analog computer. Inside its intricate system of gears was the ability to calculate the movements of the sun, moon, and planets. It could predict eclipses and track complex astronomical cycles with surprising accuracy. What shocked historians most was not just the device itself, but the level of mechanical sophistication required to build it. The gears were precisely engineered. Some had teeth smaller than a millimeter. Nothing comparable to this technology was believed to exist for more than 1,000 years after its creation. In other words, this machine appeared centuries ahead of its time. So who built it? And how did they acquire such advanced knowledge of mechanics and astronomy? Be even more puzzling. If ancient engineers were capable of creating devices like this, where are the others? Why has only one example survived? Some historians believe the Antikythera mechanism may represent a lost tradition of ancient engineering, one that disappeared when libraries were destroyed and civilizations collapsed. If that is true, then what we see today may only be a tiny fragment of a much larger technological legacy, a single surviving artifact from a knowledge system that once may have been far more advanced. And it forces us to ask an unsettling question. How many other discoveries might still be buried beneath the earth, waiting to challenge our understanding of the past? Chapter 4: The Library That Could Have Changed History. Imagine a place where nearly all the knowledge of the ancient world was gathered under one roof. A place where mathematicians, philosophers, astronomers, engineers, and historians from across the Mediterranean came to study, debate, and record everything humanity had learned. For centuries, such a place actually existed. It was called the Library of Alexandria. Founded in Egypt around the 3rd century BCE, the library quickly became one of the most ambitious intellectual projects in human history. Its goal was simple but extraordinary: collect every book in the known world. Ships entering the harbor of Alexandria were searched for manuscripts. If a text was found, it was copied for the library. In many cases, the original was kept while the copy was returned to its owner. Within a few generations, the library may have held hundreds of thousands of scrolls. Works from ancient Greece, Persia, Egypt, India, and beyond were brought together in one place. Scholars studied mathematics, astronomy, medicine, engineering, geography, and philosophy. Some historians believe that early concepts of steam engines, complex mechanical devices, and advanced mathematical theories were already being explored in this environment. But then something happened. Over time, a series of wars, fires, and political conflicts gradually destroyed the library. Exactly when and how it disappeared is still debated by historians. But the end result is certain. An enormous portion of ancient knowledge vanished. Thousands of manuscripts, discoveries, observations were lost forever. And with them may have disappeared centuries of accumulated understanding. The destruction of the Library of Alexandria is one of the most powerful reminders in history of how fragile knowledge can be. Civilizations do not only lose buildings, they lose memory. And when memory disappears, entire chapters of human understanding can vanish with it. Chapter 5: The Astronomers of the Ancient World. Long before telescopes existed, ancient civilizations were already studying the sky with astonishing precision. Night after night, for generations, observers watched the movements of the stars, planets, and the moon. They tracked patterns, recorded cycles, predicted celestial events, and the accuracy of some of their observations continues to surprise modern scientists. Consider the Maya civilization in Central America. Using nothing more than naked eye observation and careful mathematical systems, Maya astronomers developed calendars capable of predicting solar eclipses and tracking the complex motion of Venus with remarkable accuracy. Their calculations were so precise that modern astronomers have confirmed many of their recorded cycles. In ancient Egypt, the layout of the pyramids appears to align with specific stars in the Orion constellation. Meanwhile, ancient structures such as Stonehenge in England seem to function as enormous astronomical markers, aligning with solstices and lunar cycles. But perhaps the most fascinating question is not simply how ancient people observed the sky. It is why they invested so much effort into doing so. Astronomy appears to have been central to many ancient cultures. In some societies, the movements of the heavens guided agriculture, religious ceremonies, and political power. Kings and priests relied on celestial knowledge to predict seasons and interpret cosmic events. But some researchers believe these observations may have served an even deeper purpose. The sky was not just a calendar. It was a map that ancient civilizations believed connected humanity to a much larger cosmic order. And the deeper we look into their astronomical records, the clearer it becomes that ancient observers possessed a profound understanding of the rhythms of the universe, knowledge that took centuries of patience to develop, knowledge that could easily be lost when civilizations disappeared. Chapter 6: Göbekli Tepe and the Forgotten Beginning for most of modern history. Scholars believe that civilization began roughly 6,000 years ago. Before that, humans were assumed to live in small, simple hunter-gatherer groups. Then, in the 1990s, archaeologists uncovered something that forced historians to reconsider everything. Hidden beneath a hill in southeastern Turkey was a massive complex of stone pillars arranged in circular structures. This site would become known as Göbekli Tepe when researchers began excavating the area. They discovered towering pillars weighing up to 20 tons, carefully carved with detailed reliefs of animals, snakes, birds, and other creatures. But the most shocking discovery came from radiocarbon dating. The site was more than 11,000 years old. That makes it one of the oldest monumental structures ever discovered. It predates the pyramids. It predates Stonehenge. It even predates agriculture. In other words, complex architecture and organized construction projects may have existed before farming societies developed. This discovery completely challenges the traditional timeline of civilization. For decades, historians believed agriculture created civilization. Göbekli Tepe suggests the opposite may have happened. Large groups of people may have first gathered for spiritual or cultural reasons, and only later developed agriculture to support those communities. Even more mysterious, the site appears to have been deliberately buried thousands of years ago. Someone carefully filled the structures with soil and stones, preserving them for millennia. Why would an ancient civilization bury its own monumental temple? No one knows. But Göbekli Tepe proves something extraordinary. Human history is far older and far more mysterious than we once believed. Chapter 7: The Maps That Should Not Exist in 1513. An Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis created a map of the world. At first glance, it seemed like many other early exploration maps. But when historians examined it closely, they noticed something strange. Parts of the map appeared to depict coastlines with surprising accuracy, including regions that Europeans were not supposed to have explored in detail yet. Even more mysterious, some researchers have argued that the map may show the coastline of Antarctica, centuries before the continent was officially discovered. The claim remains controversial among historians, but the map itself contains notes from Piri Reis explaining that it was compiled from much older sources, maps that he claimed dated back to ancient civilizations. If that statement is true, it raises fascinating possibilities. Ancient navigators may have possessed far more advanced knowledge of global geography than previously believed. And the Peary race map is not the only example. Throughout history, various ancient charts and navigation records have appeared that seem to contain unexpectedly detailed information about distant lands. Of course, many of these puzzles can eventually be explained through careful scholarship, but the broader mystery remains. How far did ancient exploration truly reach? How much geographical knowledge was once known and later forgotten? Chapter 8: The Memory Hidden in Myths Across the World. Cultures separated by oceans and continents share strangely similar stories. Stories of great floods, stories of lost golden ages, stories of powerful civilizations destroyed by catastrophe. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh tells of a massive flood that wiped out much of humanity. In Greek mythology, Plato described the destruction of Atlantis. In Hindu tradition, texts describe cycles of civilizations rising and falling across immense periods of time. For centuries, scholars treated these stories as symbolic myths, but modern researchers have begun exploring another possibility. Some myths may preserve distant memories of real events. For example, geological evidence shows that around 12,000 years ago, the Earth experienced dramatic climate changes at the end of the last ice age. Melting glaciers caused sea levels to rise rapidly, flooding vast coastal regions where many ancient settlements may have existed. Entire communities could have disappeared beneath the ocean. If survivors passed down stories of those events through generations, those stories might eventually become myths. In this way, mythology may function as a kind of cultural memory, not perfect history, but echoes of events that once shaped human civilization. Chapter 9: How Knowledge Disappears. The fragility of civilization. Imagine an entire library burning in a single night, erasing centuries of human thought. Now multiply that across continents, and you begin to see the fragility of knowledge. History is filled with such catastrophic examples. When the Roman Empire fell, Europe plunged into the Dark Ages. Aqueducts crumbled, roads decayed, and technologies once routine were lost. Ancient concrete formulas, engineering methods, and medical knowledge disappeared for centuries. What was once common understanding became legendary myth. The fall of civilizations doesn't just erase technology, it erases memory and culture. Oral traditions fade, libraries rot, scholars are killed or scattered. Knowledge vanishes when stability is lost. Consider the Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old analog computer capable of predicting eclipses and planetary positions. Comparable sophistication did not appear again for over a millennium. Entire centuries of engineering brilliance may have been lost, leaving only hints. Knowledge can vanish even without destruction. Political regimes suppress information. Religious orthodoxy bans inquiry. Economic collapse halts education. Natural disasters bury cities and libraries. The past warns us. Human progress is not guaranteed. Knowledge is fragile, it must be preserved, defended, and rediscovered. Every artifact, scroll, or ruin hints at the immense scale of what has already been lost. Civilizations may disappear with entire libraries of insight, leaving only echoes and ruins. If knowledge can vanish once, could it vanish again? And what might future generations never know about us? Chapter 10. What might still be waiting? The hidden chapters of humanity. Imagine the Earth as a palimpsest. Layers of human history written into its surface, ruins beneath forests, cities under deserts, artifacts buried under oceans. Some chapters are visible, many remain hidden, waiting to be discovered. New technology is revealing mysteries once thought impossible. Satellite imaging uncovers sprawling urban complexes under dense jungles in the Amazon. Ground-penetrating radar detects entire settlements beneath Middle Eastern sands. Submerged ruins off the coasts of India and Japan hint at civilizations lost to rising seas. And the myths: Plato's Atlantis, the biblical flood, tales of lost kingdoms, might preserve faint memories of real events. Could these conceal truths about civilizations obliterated by cataclysmic events? Forgotten philosophies might guide our moral choices. Lost astronomy may reshape our view of the cosmos. The question remains: how much is still out there, waiting to be found? Every excavation, manuscript, or artifact is a key to a past more complex than history books tell us. The past whispers through ruins, myths, and artifacts. For those willing to listen, it promises revelations that can challenge everything we think we know. How far back does human brilliance truly reach, and what might still be lying beneath the surface, ready to rewrite history?